It's the Distracted Driving Podcast, throwing out the status quo.
Well, okay, let's start. This is Distracted Driving Podcast. Damn it.
.com.
This is the Distracted Driving Podcast.
Yes.
I'm Sean Genovese.
I'm Rex Williams.
And today we have another guest, Brett Hoffstadt, author of Goodnight Moonbase, amongst other things.
Author and master of other things, like pianist. Are you still playing the piano?
I am still doing that, yep.
Yes.
And the
Well-rounded.
guitar sometimes, too.
Guitar? Yes.
Now, are you playing professionally anywhere or just at home on holidays?
Just home, and I still feel like if the right people heard my music, I have an original music album. Actually, maybe we'll talk
that's
about
right.
this, but the creation that really launched my bravery and courage to ship, as Seth Godin would say, was the original music album that I recorded and published myself back when I turned 40 years old. So
just last year.
somewhat. Yeah.
Cool. I did not know that. But yeah, self-publishing is definitely a way to ship. I mean, that's what I did with the book that I wrote, which hopefully one day I can say is the first book that I wrote. And I want to get to your book, but I also want to just catch myself up on what you're doing now, because I was scrolling through your LinkedIn. Oh, we've lost Rex.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully we'll get him back here. Yeah, so you and I and Rex all worked at the Boeing company together, and then we've all gone different directions. And you are here in California with me, but in a different part of the state doing a different type of thing. So maybe you could just briefly tell us where are you and how'd you get there, and then we'll segue.
Yeah. It's been a journey. I feel like I've lived multiple lives and careers so far. But I do want to come back. I'll say most of my experience, for those who don't know me, which is probably everyone else listening, most of my professional background was in the aerospace and aviation industries. I have a bachelor's and master's in aerospace engineering, and loved that, and did that for many years, and a lot of it was at Boeing, where we all met together. And I was fortunate, as I got started with innovation work, that connected us to have my own innovations inspired, and so I was able to eventually get 4 patents from my work at Boeing.
Yeah,
which is great.
awesome.
And that was a lifelong goal, to have a patent. So, but
Times 4.
I'll come to what I've been doing since then, but what I do want to emphasize is one person who really changed my life and changed Boeing indirectly was Seth Godin, who has written a lot of great books. And so he really inspired me to ship something and create something. And what I realized around the mid-2000, like 5, 6, 8
yeah,
frame, was that we lived in a world now where you do not need permission or authority to create something and to ship it, right?
Yep.
And so
That
my
was his big
lifelong dream has
message,
been
right?
to publish my own music that I composed myself, because that was one of my biggest hobbies, probably.
Yeah.
And so it took me, like most projects, twice as long, twice as much money as I thought, all that stuff, learning. But eventually I did publish my own album, release it, of instrumental music. And so it wasn't a commercial success, but it was a huge psychological success.
Right.
for me, right? And it was a scary thing to do, because I'm releasing,
You're
it's
putting
my
your baby out there, your art.
my
yeah.
baby, my emotional music that it's like
Someone might not like it.
it's like it's your artwork, right? It's
Yeah.
your passion artwork. So, but after that happened, I basically two things happened. One was I lost all fear of creation and innovation
Yeah.
and creativity, and which I credit Seth Godin with also, because he makes the point saying, what we're bred or evolved to think that we have survival at stake if we do something risky or dangerous or what's the word, unconventional.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But now we don't live in that world anymore. The worst that can happen is you get fired. But actually, that
That doesn't
is
happen
hard to
anymore.
do, right?
Yeah.
Although we know
Well,
some
it's
people who have accomplished
yeah,
that.
it's not as hard as you might think.
Oh, some of us may have experienced
I know.
that
Yeah,
process.
some of us have found skills in that, I suppose. But still, it's probably not a life or death situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that gave me a lot of courage, and also it made me decide, well, okay, and so now I've done this with my hobby. How can I turn this and channel this energy into my day job,
Yeah.
and bring creativity into that and create something new and unique? And so that, you may not have known it, but that was really my impetus to do innovation within Boeing and change the company, because I felt like I had this energy and ability now, and I wanted to channel it somewhere productive. So
Yeah, I
there you
remember.
go.
You were on fire. It was awesome. We had such great times just launching stuff,
Yeah.
The Ship It group and whatnot. And
Was it Coalition of the Shipping?
oh yeah, the Coalition
Oh,
of the Shipping. That's what he
yes.
called it.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That was
The
fun.
coalition of the shipping, and it was I think, didn't that come from Atlassian, where they used to have FedEx days,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd spend 24 hours just working on solving a problem, and then at the end of 24 hours you had to ship it.
Yeah.
Hence the name.
Yep.
And I can't remember where I got this quote from, one of the authors that I'm sure we collectively have followed, but the idea that consumers are now producers, which is kind of what we're doing here, right? People aren't just, it used to be that you had a professional class, and maybe it was Clay Shirky. Used to have a professional class, and they would create the things, and then you'd have the people that consume the things. But now the people that consume can produce, and the people that produce, I mean, it's all, it's bi-directional.
User-generated content. Yep.
It's mass. Well, mass customization is one thing, but it's mass production in a way, right? But
Exactly.
individualized production, right? So
Yep.
Democratization of production, maybe.
there you go.
Yep. All you need the internet and the computer,
So it really, yeah, I think one of my goals with my books and efforts like Goodnight Moonbase, which we'll talk about, is to really encourage the idea of that we're living in an age of abundance.
Yeah.
And I think we need more people to have an abundance mentality, although we are also, I admit, we're living in very tough, difficult times, and
Yep.
a lot of people are struggling, which is a fact. But it's like Charles Dickens taught us first: it can be the best of times and the worst of times at the same time, right?
Yeah, there's a book on that too, Abundance, by.
Well,
can't
there's
remember
there's a book on the best of times and the worst of times as well.
Yeah.
But
Tale
those
of
aren't
cities, or another something else.
No, that was the reference. I was really just making fun of Rex there.
Yeah, there's a book on that. Oh yeah, he quoted an author. No,
But those aren't the books I want to talk about.
Yeah. We want to talk about Brett's books. So, do you want to go from? So you were thriving, you were making stuff happen inside Boeing, and we were doing all these cool projects and stuff, and then you said, "See you later."
I did, yeah. And like most of my life changes, maybe for other people, it was because of a girl or my wife.
Girls have lots of influence, don't they? Yeah, that's funny.
So she had her career also that was going very well, but then needed a change. So yeah, so we moved away from Philadelphia where we were living. We moved to Texas, and she had a interesting and unique opportunity there. And so I am proud of myself. I did finagle a remote job at Boeing with that move
Oh yeah, right.
before that was a thing to do,
I
especially
was
in corporate world.
right. I was going to say that was before that was really okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, remote work.
So that
uh-huh.
and lesson there for everyone is that most innovation, I believe, is not about the technology. It's about everything else. It's the organization. It's the management. It's the
Environment.
processes or policies. Right? It's a system.
Yeah.
You have to think
I
about it all.
I agree, and the technology either enables or hinders the innovation depending on who's using it and how.
Right. But you also need the management support for innovation, right? So, and
Yeah.
my big challenge was to find a manager who was willing to have me work for him remotely at the time.
Uh-huh.
So,
And you did.
but
You found one.
I did. But then I got laid off remotely too. So,
it can
It,
swing both ways.
Brett, it happens to the best of us.
it wasn't a bulletproof plan, but
That's okay. You're in Texas. It's cheaper
so
there, or what? I
Texas.
don't know. It's hot.
So I guess I'll try to walk you briefly through the journey, but what happened? I got laid off, and then I thought, well, I have a decent severance package. Now's my chance to be entrepreneurial. Just do it
Yeah.
full speed, full time ahead. And with my wife's tentative or support, you could say, but then my wife's position evaporated also.
Oh, no way.
Her place where she was working was just, we were talking about this before we went live, but what happened with Sean recently happened with her. She was not given an honest picture of the situation and what would be happening there where she went to work. So that basically we found both of ourselves high and dry there with our two kids in a new state for us. So we had to scramble.
Unemployed.
How old were your kids at that time?
They were, I want to say, let me see, like maybe 2 and 4, something like
Okay.
that. Pretty
Yeah.
young.
Young kids.
So that's when I went into project management officially. I got my PMP certification,
Oh, wow.
broadened out of that. And so that was a smart move. I got a
Yeah.
job then in a technology company, an IT company, doing that. But we struggled honestly for a while to just settle in and both get stable. And so then my wife got another opportunity to move to California near the Sacramento area, where that's where we are now.
Oh,
And so we moved up here in 2016, about 6 years ago. And
Yeah.
it took us a while to get established here also. It's been a challenge, and I've learned that what works for innovation in some companies does not work in other companies. You can't, you can't use the same strategies everywhere. So
yeah. I'm wondering about that.
Not one
That's
size
interesting.
fits all.
Yep. And sometimes if you try to push innovation too hard, it can backfire on you. And so I experienced that firsthand a couple times actually, or
Wow.
at least one time. Another time, another company was just flaky, I guess is the only word, where I was, another short story, I was called into a meeting with HR just to
Been there.
we had just finished a successful test campaign that I was running, and we accomplished 100% of the company's test objectives in this test. It was
Nice.
very innovative and groundbreaking for them. So I was called into HR, and my manager was like a remote manager because he was at a different site. So he was on the phone, and the HR woman said, "Well, called this meeting to let you know this is your last day with the company."
No way.
It's like, what the hell? That was totally blindsided by me, and I
Wow.
couldn't understand it.
That
Looking
is
back,
crazy.
I don't know. The only thing I could have done different, I think, I could have built better relationships, I think, with management who were not in my official chain of command. But looking back, I guess the only thing I could have done maybe was make more of a scene, like push it.
Fight it.
Like I could have walked down to the CEO's office, corner office in the building, and taken a stand or saying, "What kind of show are you running here? Where this happens?"
Yeah, but was that really going to have an impact on anything other than making you feel better?
Exactly. Yeah, probably not. And then it turns out it was the VP of engineering that made the decision to let me go. He wasn't in the room, which was
convenient.
But they let him go 3 months after me. So
no way.
Yeah. But it was a company that had a lot of turnover issues, I think. So
apparently.
Anyway,
but somewhere in there, you had gotten into drones and stuff, right? But in Texas.
Yep. I worked hard to work with drones here, and that was I can tell you a bit about that, I guess. One of my strategies after when I left Boeing there and got laid off, I realized I did an assessment to say, what are my skills? What are my passions? How can I make a Venn diagram of these and pursue things that would not happen if it weren't for me, right? That would make a difference. So that's when I got into book publishing, and I see we're almost maybe at the halfway point here for our conversation. So,
well, yeah, I think that's a great segue because not just book publishing, but as you put on your LinkedIn, STEM-friendly nonfiction books, which I actually didn't realize until today that you had so many STEM-friendly books. The one that caught my attention is the most recent one that you've been doing a lot of promotion for, Goodnight Moonbase. But actually, yeah, you've been doing that for a number of years. So why did you start? First of all, what do you mean by STEM-friendly nonfiction books, and why did you pivot to that, even if just a side hustle?
Well, so I wanted to really find this very challenging and demanding Venn diagram overlap, thinking like a systems engineer.
Yeah, you're an engineer at heart, right? I mean...
Yeah. I feel like I've always been on a search to find my niche as a person that makes me very happy and successful. So one thing I'll tell you this, I've always had an entrepreneurial creative streak through my life. Right. And so I've always been looking for a way to become financially independent, also creative. Yeah. And you guys probably know there's always people out there with plans and courses and tribes that they say, subscribe to me, we'll do this together, achieve your dreams, whatever. And so one of these years, somebody created a program, and it was called Paid to Exist.
Oh, yeah. Know that guy.
You know him?
Of course. Of course Rex knows about it.
Totally in the same circles. What's his name?
I forget his name.
It was a while ago. Yeah. Paid to Exist. Yeah.
Exist.
I always sign up for all that stuff, get all the free stuff, don't ever buy the stuff, right? The actual stuff. But you learn a lot. Yeah.
But I thought that guy really nailed it with the objective. Just find something that you love that comes easy to you and fun to you, that it's not considered work, but you get paid for it. Right?
Yeah.
So
it's genius.
So, and it's different for every person. I think people have to appreciate that you can't, what works for someone else may not work for you. So, but for me, through the years, what I've found that works best for me is writing and publishing books. So
nice.
I figured out if I can do that, how can I do that? And so the STEM topics, science, technology, engineering, and math, those I care about a lot. I'm passionate about those. And I think we need more of those and more people to excel in those topics for our world, because I am biased, but I do believe if we had more engineers running the show and in charge of things, we'd all be much better off. So
yeah, viva la engineers!
Yeah. Because what do engineers do? They solve problems.
Exactly. And we we care about practical, effective solutions, right?
Solutions, yeah.
That actually work,
Science.
that aren't just
Yeah.
theory, right?
So I've found a similar thing is true for me. I'd not heard of the paid to exist. I'm looking at the site now. I'll have to take a look at that. But
Still around?
for me, I haven't shifted really to the idea of paid to exist. But what I have realized is I need to have. I'm a creator. I like to create.
Yeah.
And I can't always do that. Sometimes it becomes a part of my job, and I can do it there. But I mean, the shows that Rex and I have done, the Movement Maker show at Boeing, and now this show, a big part of that is because I have to create. I have to have something where I can just have that outlet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. Sometimes I get the urge to just be on camera. I gotta like shoot a video.
Well, it helps if you enjoy the sound of your own voice. But in writing, I do the writing too. So for you, Brett, I guess that outlet and that paid to exist niche then is writing, but also you're combining your passion and drive for STEM education.
Yeah, technology.
What was? Go ahead, Rex.
Well, I had a question because I remember you getting into it, and I don't know if it was the first one. But I know one of your books was like ghost written. Didn't you? Was it your first one where you like ghost wrote it under like a different name, except because it was really controversial or something?
I have done that. That wasn't my first book.
Oh,
No.
okay.
But I guess I don't have.
It was
my
like
first one.
it was environment stuff. It was
What
Right.
was the first book, though? I want to know what the first book was.
The first book. Let me grab it. It was How to Be a Rocket Scientist. I'll get
oh,
it.
that was the first one, of course. I got that one. How to be a rocket scientist. Genius.
Yeah, did you figure it out? Did you follow all the steps?
No, because I already was one. Nah, not exactly.
Let's
But
see.
Were you
That was
though?
the
Were you?
that's his
Here we go.
point.
Okay.
People find my
Here it
copy.
is for people on YouTube.
Yes, how to be
Uh-huh.
a rocket scientist. I remember. You find
So that
my
was
cool
a great,
picture. Not
great
a
experience.
woman
So
you
that was
know.
that. Yeah.
So who? Obviously, the title, "How to Be a Rocket Scientist." I don't want to ask the silly, obvious question, but the real question: who is that book targeted for?
It's targeted for older students and young adults who want to enter the aerospace or aviation fields but don't know how, or don't think they're capable, or don't see how they can go through the standard so-called predictable path of getting a college degree, engineering degree, getting a
Gotcha.
job with a big aerospace company. So the message of the book really is that, again, we live in an age of abundance when there's many things you can learn and do now that don't need other people's permission or authority. You can chart your own path, make your own course, and
Yeah.
you can become a creator. If you want to design computer programs, you can learn your own coding now and create programs and collaborate with people from around the world, right? And produce something.
Yeah.
You can be a creator and
You
create
can
your
start
own
your
niche.
own. You can start your own podcast.
Yeah.
Your own
Well, and that
podcast.
book was written a while ago too. Like, what year was that one written?
2014.
2014. Yeah.
And in fact, actually, I'll tell you this little plug. Next month, I'm going to be a guest with Moon Village Association,
Yeah.
which is a global organization to encourage settlement of a moon village. And I'm going to talk to them about how we live in a great time today for people to use the fact that we have moon exploration missions happening now. Like the NASA Artemis mission is going to launch at the end of this month or early September for the first
Yeah.
NASA mission to go back to the moon in 60 years.
Wow.
And if you are a good writer, specifically, you could be writing about these things, and that could be your niche as a creator. And that could be a career pathway for somebody if you want to be a writer about these space moon exploration efforts.
Like the nonfiction version of Isaac Asimov.
You could do that. You could be a citizen journalist or commentator of some kind. Here's a quick story that happened. So Moon Village Association happens to be one of the beneficiaries of the book Goodnight Moonbase. Oh, here it is. When you buy this book, Goodnight Moonbase, in the back, there's a special page. I'll show you here. You can make your Moonbase contribution. And there's instructions here where you can go to my website and then pick an organization that is actually helping humanity go back to the moon. I'll make a donation to that organization with using proceeds from the book from your purchase. So the book is meant to be a boost to our efforts to go back to the moon in more ways than one.
Awesome.
But one of those organizations is Moon Village Association. Another organization is Teachers in Space.
Oh, really?
And so that's teachers that have come together to form their own group. And they're helping teachers build CubeSats with their students. Would you say, Rex?
Well, it's just Teachers in Space kind of reminded me
Of the Muppet Show?
Yeah, pigs in
Yeah,
space.
I know. Yeah.
All right, so we've covered Isaac Asimov, The Muppet Show. People are going to be like, how old are these guys?
But here's the thing, though. This is a great innovation story as well. So Teachers in Space had a CubeSat payload on the very first rocket of Firefly Aerospace and their Alpha rocket, which launched last year, and it didn't quite get to orbit. Unfortunately, one of the engines had a problem, and it launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base, which I was fortunate to be there for. But
and the check engine light came on, and they had to return. Had to call AAA, get it checked out.
In a way, I wish that would have been less.
I'm guessing it was catastrophic.
Yeah, they had to initiate self-destruct to prevent it from doing something.
Yeah.
But it was still, for the very first launch of their company, their very first rocket, it cleared the pad. It got up supersonic. It was really tremendous. There's never been a company to launch their very first rocket on their very first attempt to orbit.
Oh.
Think about how difficult that would be. It's never happened yet. So
yeah,
it's a very small company, like they just started.
It's a startup, another private space company. But anyway, here's the point about creators today. Firefly Aerospace, for their live streaming coverage and launch coverage, they hired a YouTuber, Everyday Astronaut, who maybe you guys have seen.
Everyday Astronaut. Because
Everyday Astronaut is this guy who lives in, I forget, he lives in Iowa or somewhere. I don't know, like literally around the cornfields. He's become this major YouTuber for space launch news, and he's even snagged one-on-one tours with Elon Musk at SpaceX facilities, where Elon Musk is saying, here's what we're doing here, here's the rocket engine, and this guy, Everyday Astronaut, his name's Tim, I believe, he's the host, the interviewer with Elon Musk. And he was the official launch commentator and live streamer for this Firefly Aerospace company. So the point is, you don't have to be a corporate organization anymore to make a big impact and to find a niche in whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be aerospace, but it applies to all the STEM fields, really.
Well, that was fun.
That was fun. It was great to see Brett and talk to him.
Yeah. It's great to stay connected. It was a long time ago when we worked together and, went different ways, but he's done a lot of cool stuff, totally entrepreneurial, and really admire him for that. And it's just fun to see what he's doing, through LinkedIn and his other avenues. Yeah.
Well, and as long as I've known him, which was mostly online at work.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. About him today, and we've got a lot in common. So I'm glad we had him on the show. And there's more. He's going to be back to finish the conversation. And in fact, our next episode, we're going to have a special guest to maybe talk a little bit about Goodnight Moonbase and introduce the second part.
Okay. Yeah, one of his customers.
All right, we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, don't get distracted.